Ya Ali Madad. I hope you're all keeping well and safe. My name is Noreen Sharif, and I will be your host for this evening. Before I share the programme for tonight, here are some highlights of the board activities this week. Tomorrow at 12:30 p.m, we have the Golden Club consisting of faith and wellbeing talks. In the evening at 8:15 p.m, join the breathing exercise class, which can not only relieve frustration, anxiety and stress, but is also great for the lungs. Monday marks the start of Children's Mental Health Week, where the theme this year is Express Yourself. Expression is an important part of wellness. It allows inner feelings to be shared and creates a platform for understanding. Keep an eye out this week as the Aga Khan Health Board shares some ideas for children, adolescents and parents to be yourself. We kickstart some of the physical exercise classes this week with the chair and standing exercise class on Tuesday with Perviz at 11 a.m. On Wednesday, we have the Zumba class, which combines rhythm, energy, fitness, Latino sounds, and much, much more. Zumba with Raz promises to help you let loose, have fun, and keep fit whilst doing so. On Thursday, we have a number of activities, starting with the social circle at 11 a.m, with a variety of stimulating activities. We are at the halfway point of Season 2's popular Talking Hands class, which is in week 4 of the 8-week introductory course to British Sign Language, taught by Farah, Zara, and Nabi. Yesterday, we continued the weekly local Jamaati Zoom calls to further stay close and connected within our own Jamaats. In this session, the President of the UK National Council shared a message regarding the current lockdown and specifically the impact it and COVID is having on education. If you missed the Zoom call, the President's message is now available on the Ismaili UK YouTube channel. In line with the President's message yesterday, today's programme is a webinar focused on supporting your child's well-being. This session is entitled Let's Talk Feelings. It covers coping with change and managing worries, managing feelings around being away from school and/or friends, as well as strategies for managing new behaviour. The webinar is hosted by Saimin Kerdin, Alia Bagani, and Noreen Musa, who are experienced in the education and health sectors. That's all from me. I hope you enjoyed tonight's programme. Continue to stay safe, stay well, and stay at home. Ya Ali Madad.
My name is Noreen Musa, and I am a primary school teacher and Key Stage 1 phase leader, and I've been working alongside the Al Khan Education Board, supporting them with developing these primary webinars. Joining me today, I am happy to introduce two fantastic professionals who both work in the education and health sector, and between them have a great source of knowledge on education and children's psychology. Our first speaker is Saimin Kerdin, an experienced educational psychologist currently working with Ealing Council. Our second speaker is Alia Bagani, an experienced primary school teacher and assistant head at a school in Harrow. Before we start, I just want to go through some housekeeping rules. Please keep yourselves on mute as we are recording the webinar today, and we'd like to minimize any noise disruption as much as possible so everyone can listen to it. The aim of these webinars is to be as interactive as possible, and we would really hope that you get something from this experience. So if you do have any questions, please do write them in the comments section below, and our team will put together the questions and hopefully answer them by the end of today's session. And hopefully today, any questions that you have, be very clear as to state your child's age and year group that they are in, so that our panelists can answer your questions as best they can. And the aim of today's webinar is to gain more of an understanding of coping with change and managing worries. Hopefully by the end of today's webinar, you will have some understanding of these areas. And I will pass you over to Sultana now.
Hi, Yali Madeth, everybody. My name is Sultana Labani. I'm a member of the Aga Khan Education Board. Would just like to give a quick thank you to all of our panelists who have taken the time to speak today. I'm really grateful to have such a great panel here for you. We recognize that this is a very challenging time for families and that everyone is doing a wonderful job at this time. We really hope that you'll take away some tips from us today, and then that you can try out at home. And if you do try out any of these tips at home, please do feedback to us so we know if these have helped you and if there's anything else that we can do. If you need any support at all, please contact AKEB at any time. You can email us at akeb@iruk.org for any confidential support that you may need. During this session, we would also like to know when would be best for you for future webinars to be held. For example, would it be a weekday evening, a weekend morning, a weekend afternoon? So if you could please enter your preference into the chat box during this session, that will help us with planning for future webinars. We also have further resources and the recordings of these webinars available online on our website, Head Start. Please visit headstart.iruk.org. I'll now pass you back over to Nurin so that we can begin with the session. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sultana. So now I'll pass you over to Semin Karadin, educational psychologist with Ealing Council, to help explain further the topic of well-being and managing your child's worries. Thank you, Semin.
Yeah, Lima, all. I hope you're all keeping well and safe. Realise that the current time that we're in is very unsettling for all of us, including our children. Some of our children actually are probably really enjoying this, but we're clearly here to be talking about those that are maybe finding it a little bit tougher. So in terms of the guidance that we've had so far around, us being home educators, has been very much about support well-being first. And we're going to look a little bit more in detail about why that is such a key aspect to be able to, can I go back to the previous slide?
All right. Yeah.
Thank you. So we're going to be looking at how to look at, we're going to be supporting our children through this unsettling time. We're going to be thinking about how some of our children may or may not have some of the communication skills to express how they're feeling. So we are going to have to be very observant of our youngsters and listen to them and watch what they're doing, because some of their behaviours will be communicating to us how they're actually feeling. So we need to be looking at their behaviour as a form of communication to us. And in this time, one of the key things is to be able to ensure that we are enhancing our relationship with our youngsters so they feel secure and that they're able to communicate with us and we can actually support them, that they might listen to some of the guidance or the approaches that we're actually going to be implementing to support them. We'll be looking at a very key strategy, a parenting strategy at the end of this little bit of input, which is an absolute base. If we can go to the next slide, please.
Thanks.
Okay, so why do we want to make a real strong focus on relationships? When our relationships are good, and right now in some homes, there'll be times we're not used to spending so much time together without being able to have any other outlets. So there will be times when the emotional temperature in a home is likely to get a little bit hot and it returns again. But if our relationships are even stronger, and some families say to me, but I already have a really good relationship with my child, I often say to that parent, it's a bit like vertigo the other way around. It can always get stronger. So good relationships help our children to feel good about themselves and us. It helps them to feel safe to develop new skills. And our youngsters, while they're not at school, they're not stopping developing. They're still doing that. So it will make them feel even safer to be able to look at some of the new skills that they're developing. It will increase the likelihood of our youngster actually listening to some of the instructions that we might be giving them or the requests that we're making of them. And it will also reduce the likelihood of behaviour problems after we come out of COVID, whatever that's going to look like, from those developing. So, you know, the aim isn't just for now, it's also about holding us here on. Next slide, please. So I'd just like to take you through, some of you may already know this, so forgive me if you are familiar with this, but just like to go through a little model of the brain in the palm of our hands. Because the first thing that the brain looks for at uncertain times is a sense of security. When, I guess, imagine to yourselves that if you are feeling nervous or uncomfortable about something, or have just had an argument before you've potentially gone out to work on a day, the likelihood is that you've got that concern still living with you. So yeah, emotions actually give rise to our bodies taking action. If I can take you through the actual model of the brain. So this is the brain. The first bit of the brain that develops is here, the brainstem, right at the back of your neck. This is where, as the child is in the womb, this is what's developing first, the brainstem. This is responsible for all automatic, for movement, for sensory, breathing. So this is really responsible for a lot of sensory things, and we call it the reptilian brain. So it's the oldest type of animal that grew. The next part of the brain that develops is this bit here called the emotional brain. This is responsible, or the mammalian brain, sorry, which is responsible for emotions, thinking, feeling. The final part of the brain that develops is called the supracortex. This bit here, those two strands live just behind the skull there, and they're the bits that are responsible for thinking, learning, rationalizing. However, when we are not feeling okay, we flip our lids slightly. When we're not, and this is, the downstairs brain is like the guard dog, is the bit that is checking out if there's any threat. And right now is a time of threat. We don't know what this coronavirus is going to do to us. And our youngsters are possibly feeling a little bit lifted if they're hearing us talk about things or the news, etc. It might lift a little bit. And our job is about helping our youngsters to feel regulated and bringing it all down again. When the brain is like in this position, that's when it's most able and available for thinking and learning. So like I said, if I've gone out to work on a day having had an argument with my husband, as I'm driving, I'm a little bit lifted and my thumbs are really pressing hard on the driving wheel. So it's, you know, we have to do things to be able to calm ourselves down. The key emotions that the brain developed with from years and years ago, if we're thinking about hunting gathering times, the key emotions were around anger, anxiety, disgust, sadness, and joy. All these emotions evolved as a mechanism to help us to survive. So anxiety right now, if that's what our youngsters are feeling, is not entirely a bad feeling, because it's actually getting the body ready for action. So imagine years ago, the threat might have been a lion. Now it's the coronavirus. That threat needs to be able to be managed. So if our youngsters are feeling anxious, the body is in a position of getting ready for that anxiety. The body tenses up a bit, the heart starts to beat faster. And what we're trying to do is help our youngster not to go into that fight, flight, or fright position and bring it all back down again. So there are things that we need to be able to do to help our youngsters to manage this anxiety. Some of the things that we've talked about previously, or you may hear a lot about, is helping our youngster to breathe, because what we want to do is start taking the tension out of those muscles that anxiety has put into our bodies. Start being able to calm youngsters down. So they're the kind of key steps. If we can go to the next. So before I actually look at